Hello lamp fans, this week we're gonna shoot a video on hanging lamps from Aladdin. So Adrian Ames, subscriber who subscribed on December 24th, asked me to shoot a video on hanging lamps. I don't specialize a ton in hanging lamps. I get them, piece them together, make them work, and basically sell them. So hanging lamps were around, well, for quite some time. Aladdin would, like, this is a Model 4, I would assume. Yeah, it looks like a Model 4. And this font could be put into a hanging lamp, a bracket lamp, or I think Model 5 and earlier, they all had a threaded piece on that little drip tray at the bottom. It's called, catches anything that drips past the center of the wick down. And so you could screw that onto your own floor lamp. I tend to specialize more in floor lamps and table lamps, because the modern day house really is not designed for hanging lamps. So I guess post World War II, most houses went to like an 8-foot ceiling, and the problem is a hanging lamp, really you have to have it up at least about 7 or 8 feet to cast a nice light. So they're mostly used at general stores and places with high roofs. So here's a photograph here of, see if I can get a nice picture of it, this is my father's diary, one of my father's diaries, and there's a Model 6 hanger lamp right there. This is 1962 Hawthorne, Ontario, part of Ottawa now. There's a subdivision where this farmstead used to be. My dad was into, Canadiana and antiques back in the early 60s. Well, late 50s, early 60s. And so there's my mother and my father. This is a few years before I was born. Going back to probably the most common hanging lamp available is the Model 6 with the harp hanger. So this one here, I just got to tune it a little bit. It's a little crooked in the harp. So the anatomy is you have a holder at the bottom, your font, a glass shade goes up to a smoke bell. There's a couple different models of these Model 6. They have one with a metal piece here, like a extension piece that I guess is supposed to save the chimney somewhat. And then if we get to the top here, we actually have an Aladdin hanger. And the whole idea is this: you can pull this thing up and down to service it and light it and to fill it. So the hanger. So this is probably the most common one that you'll find from the, let's say, pre-1920s era. This was built for about 5 years and just maybe even longer, and sold everywhere. So these are pretty common. About 150 bucks is what you should pay for one. People ask all sorts of money. Anything more than that, it better be museum quality. This one here has been pieced together. It could work if it wanted. Has the original smoke bell on it. Moving over there's another one right here. This one I sort of got it pretty much like that. I think it's been pieced together too, but it's the exact same lamp actually. Different smoke bell. After the Model 6s, they did some 7s and 8s in the US, but they're very rare, very rare. Don't see too many of them. Here's a Model 10. With the period correct shade on it, and that Model 10 and 11, that's the same shade for both. And moving up the top here, I have I don't think this is not an Aladdin, but I mean, Aladdin never really built this stuff. It was always built by another manufacturer and distributed under Aladdin. But here's a fairly period correct ceiling hanger extension. Same thing, you just pull it and it pulls up and down. It's got a recoil spring in it, just like a recoil, so it rewinds itself back up. Now probably one of the most newer style, obviously built from the mid 30s right up to 1950s, was the Model B tilt frame. This has got a new style paper shade on it. It can also take a opal shade. There's old ones out there, and they went into reproduction on them, and I actually have 3 of them up at the cottage. I didn't show in the video in the bedrooms, and I put electric burners on them and touch plates, and so you can just touch a plate on your table and they light up. I'm going to cover a video on how to properly electrify a lamp without destroying it in the future. So this is a Model B. This is probably one of the better style ones if you're going to get into something that's practical, because right off the bat there is, you know, a Model B burner, and you can just remove that and get an electric one and put it right in and run a cord off, and you can use it, you know, electrically, or yeah, you can run it on kerosene if you put a wick in it. The big advantage of this lamp is it can take a paper shade. Let me see if I can get a closer look here. If you can take a look here at the top, there's these tabs. The tabs would hold the glass shades on. And then there's these standoff screws. These aren't period correct, but the standoff screws would tighten against the glass shade to keep it centered. But right now it's set up. It has these little tabs here to hold the shade. So the big advantage of this system is, since it's a tilt frame, it's really easy to service in comparison to everything else, because you can, it's kind of hard to do this with, I set this thing up so it's, I just took the shade off. The big advantage of this is when you need to service it, the whole thing tilts. So you can lift this up, and it's kind of hard to capture this, but you can tilt it out of the way, and then you can remove the font completely from the holder, and that way you can fill it easier, as well as, you know, change the wick and stuff like that. So this is definitely a more user-friendly style. As I said, built in the mid-30s. The big advantage of these is that they can take any of the glass fonts from Aladdin, and they're pretty common to get, the Alcite ones, Moonstones, even the clear glass ones. I guess I haven't tried I think the new ones even fit as well too. So I could, any of these 6-odd-inch diameter, sorry to move this around so much, glass fonts do fit it quite well. So that's definitely a good lamp to get. That's definitely usable. And then they can continue building hanger lamps, and you can still buy them today. They have a reproduction version of this, and it's made of brass, and it's probably about $70. So you can always buy one of those if you want to get into that. Get a paper shade, and you can get a new font, and you're in business. You don't even have to look for antiques. And then this is a 1950s era, 60s era Model C with an old style shade on it. It's pretty brittle shade, so, but look, oh, that one's got a Nashville C burner on it. So it's late 50s. It's got those tabs that come out with the slots that hold the standard paper shades, 14-inch. That one's not really a super duper collector one, but you know, I just keep it around for the heck of it. So anyway, yeah, as I said, like, I have all these in my furnace room, my workshop, just because my house that I live at in the winter really doesn't have a lot of high ceilings. So like every other house built post, you know, 1950. So that's kind of why you don't see a lot of these, a lot of people buying them, but they're definitely interesting, and they definitely work. I'm probably going to take this one up to the cottage actually and use this one. I do have higher ceilings there, and it's got an Aladdin, I think that's called a Model 3. That one was in production from 1930s to 1950s. That's the latest one. Very simple. That's a nickel plate version. They made a black one as well too. So I'm just going to take this whole thing up and bolt it onto the ceiling and probably use it as such. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll probably shoot my next video on how to properly electrify a Aladdin lamp. That way you're not destroying them. You know, a couple alternative ways to essentially get these things working on electricity, because, you know, if it's hot out, or you don't feel like, you know, doing the ritual of lighting a lamp and blowing it out and going through that, you just want to look at it, you know, as a beautiful lamp they are. So I'll probably next week I'll shoot a video on a couple different methods of electrification of Aladdin lamps. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and have yourself a great day.